China makes 70% of every electric vehicle battery on Earth. That is not a projection. That is happening right now. In 2025, Chinese companies control 70.4% of the global EV battery market. The West invented lithium-ion technology. Now it doesn't even make a third of the batteries that power electric cars. Two Chinese companies you've probably never heard of produce more battery capacity than Tesla, Ford, GM, Volkswagen, and BMW combined. And the gap is getting wider. This is the industrial shift that rewrites the car industry. Every automaker on the planet needs batteries. Batteries are now the single most expensive component in an electric vehicle. They determine the price, the range, the charge time, the lifespan. Control the battery supply, and you control who gets to build affordable electric cars. China understood that 15 years ago. The West is realizing it now, when it's almost too late. Detroit spent a century perfecting engines. That expertise is worthless in an electric world. The two companies leading this are CATL and BYD. CATL alone holds 39.2% of the global market. That is 464.7 gigawatt-hours of battery capacity shipped in 2025. BYD follows with 16.4%, another 194.8 gigawatt-hours. Together, those two Chinese companies control 55.6% of the planet's EV battery production. For perspective, that is more than every American, European, Japanese, and Korean battery maker combined. CATL supplies Tesla, BMW, Mercedes, Ford, Volkswagen. BYD supplies itself and exports to Toyota. The world's biggest car makers are dependent on Chinese battery factories. If you love stories the West ignores, hit like and subscribe. We cover the shifts most people miss until it's too late. China's battery dominance did not happen by accident. It happened because the Chinese government identified batteries as strategic infrastructure in 2009 and flooded the sector with subsidies, land, low-interest loans, and guaranteed domestic demand. They built entire cities around battery factories. They locked in the lithium and cobalt supply chains from mines in Australia, Chile, the Congo. They scaled faster than any Western competitor could raise capital. The result is a cost structure the West cannot match. A Chinese battery pack costs $84 per kilowatt-hour in 2025. That price dropped 13% in 1 year. American factories pay 44% more for the same capacity. Let that sink in. If you are Ford and you want to build an electric F-150 that competes with a Chinese EV on price, you are starting with a battery that costs nearly half again as much. You lose before the car even rolls off the line. The advantage comes from three things. First, scale. CATL produces more batteries in a month than most American startups will make in a decade. When you produce at that volume, every cost drops. Second, vertical integration. Chinese battery makers own the mines, the refineries, the cell factories, the pack assembly. There are no middlemen. Third, chemistry. China bet early on lithium iron phosphate batteries, known as LFP. The West chased nickel cobalt manganese, or NCM, because it had higher energy density. LFP is cheaper, safer, lasts longer. China was right. Tesla recognized this. In 2021, Tesla switched half its global fleet to LFP batteries made by CATL. Elon Musk said it out loud, "Iron-based batteries are the future for standard-range vehicles." The problem is, Tesla does not make those batteries. CATL does. Every Model 3 standard range that Tesla sells depends on a Chinese supplier. If CATL raises prices or prioritizes other customers, Tesla has no leverage. That is the trap. You can build the best electric car in the world and still lose if you don't control the battery. This is why battery supply became a national security issue. The United States government now treats battery manufacturing the same way it treats semiconductor fabs. Critical infrastructure. The Inflation Reduction Act funneled $370 billion into green energy, much of it aimed at building American battery factories. Companies like Ultium, Panasonic, and SK Innovation are building plants in Ohio, Kansas, Georgia. The goal is to produce 1 terawatt-hour of capacity by 2030. China is already at 1.9 terawatt-hours today. The US is building to catch up to where China was 3 years ago. Even if those factories come online on schedule, they face a second problem: raw materials. Lithium, cobalt, nickel, graphite. China controls the refining for all of them. Australia mines the most lithium, but 80% of that lithium gets shipped to China for processing. The Democratic Republic of Congo produces 70% of the world's cobalt. Chinese companies own or finance most of those mines. The same pattern repeats for graphite and nickel. The West can build battery factories. It cannot fill them without Chinese supply chains. The timeline shows how this happened. In 2010, China produced 50% of global battery cells. The West dismissed it as low-quality manufacturing. By 2015, that share hit 60%. Tesla opened its first Gigafactory in Nevada and thought it would change the game. It did not. By 2020, China was at 65%. Then COVID hit. Supply chains collapsed. Automakers realized they had no backup suppliers. By 2023, China crossed 70%. And in 2025, that number is 70.4% and still climbing. Each year, the gap widens. The West's response has been slow and fragmented. The European Union passed the Critical Raw Materials Act to secure lithium and cobalt outside China. It has not worked. No major non-Chinese refining capacity has come online. The United States tried to revive domestic lithium mining in Nevada. Environmental reviews delayed it for years. Meanwhile, China signed 20-year supply deals with mines in Zimbabwe, Argentina, and Indonesia. They are not waiting for permits. They are locking in the next decade of production, while the West argues over regulations. Tesla is caught in the middle. The company bet everything on vertical integration. It built gigafactories on 4 continents. It developed its own battery cell design, the 4680. That cell was supposed to be cheaper, simpler, faster to produce. It is not. Production yields are low. Costs are higher than expected. Tesla still buys the majority of its cells from Panasonic, LG, and CATL. Elon Musk wanted battery independence. He does not have it. And every quarter, Chinese battery makers get cheaper and faster, while Tesla's 4680 program struggles to scale. The trap is simple. Tesla needs to make millions of electric cars to meet demand. Those cars need batteries. Chinese suppliers can deliver batteries cheaper and faster than anyone else. If Tesla refuses to buy from China, its vehicles cost more, and it loses market share. If Tesla keeps buying from China, it remains dependent on a competitor. BYD, which supplies batteries to Tesla, also sells electric cars that undercut Tesla on price. Tesla is funding its own competition. There is no clean exit from this. The other automakers face the same dilemma. Ford announced it would build 600,000 electric vehicles a year by 2024. It missed that target. Battery supply was the bottleneck. GM partnered with LG to build Ultium cells in Ohio. That factory is running behind schedule and over budget. Volkswagen committed 100 billion euros to electrification. It still imports most of its batteries from Asia. No Western automaker has achieved battery self-sufficiency. And the longer this takes, the more ground China gains. What happens next depends on one thing. Can the West build battery supply chains fast enough to matter? The answer right now is no. China's lead is structural, not temporary. They have the scale, the supply chains, the chemistry advantage, and the cost edge. American and European factories that open in 2027 will compete against Chinese factories that have been running for a decade. The learning curve alone puts the West 5 years behind, and in batteries, 5 years is the difference between leading and irrelevance. The company that started in a fridge parts factory now makes 40% of the world's EV batteries. The country that the West dismissed as a low-cost copycat now controls the supply chain that decides who builds the cars of the future. The battery war is over. China won. And Detroit, Stuttgart, and Silicon Valley are all scrambling to figure out what comes next. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next story out of China makes this look small. Would you buy a car knowing its battery came from a single country's supply chain? Drop it below. I read every one.